The David and Goliath story. The David and Goliath story is a famous biblical tale that symbolizes courage, faith, and the triumph of the underdog. The story goes that the Philistines and the Israelites were in a standoff, with the Philistines on one hill and the Israelites on another, separated by a valley. The Philistines had a champion named Goliath, who is described as a giant, standing over 9 feet tall and heavily armored. Goliath came out every morning and evening, and he stood before the Israelite army and dared them to send someone to fight with him. This continued for 40 days. David was a young shepherd boy who had faith in the Lord. His older brothers were soldiers in Israel's army. One day, towards the end of the 40 days, Jesse said to his son David, "Take this half bushel of cooked grain and take 10 loaves of bread. Take them to your brothers in the camp and also take 10 pieces of cheese. Give them to the commander of your brother's group of 1,000 soldiers." Early that morning, David left the sheep that he was caring for with another shepherd. He took the food and left as his father had told him. When David got there, he left the food with the man who kept the supplies, and then ran to the battle line to talk to his brothers. While he was talking with them, Goliath came out, and that was the first time David got to see him. This time, when he shouted things against Israel as he always did, and David heard it. He also noticed that when the Israelites saw Goliath, they were very much afraid and ran away. They said, "Look at this man Goliath. He keeps coming out and speaking against Israel. The king will give a lot of money to the man who kills Goliath. He will also give his daughter in marriage to whoever kills him, and his father's family will not have to pay taxes in Israel." David asked the men who stood near him to repeat what they had just said and asked, "What will be done to reward the man who kills this Philistine? What will be done for whoever takes away the shame from Israel? Goliath is a Philistine, and he does not believe in our God who created us and the entire world. Why does he think he can speak against the armies of the living God?" The Israelites repeated to David what they had been saying. They said, "This is what will be done for the man who kills Goliath." As David was talking to the soldiers, his older brother Eliab heard him and became angry with David. He asked David, "Why did you come here? Who's taking care of those few sheep of yours in the desert? I know you are proud. Your attitude is very bad. You came down here just to watch the battle." David was very surprised at his brother's attitude and asked, "Now what have I done wrong? Can't I even talk?" Some men heard what David said about Goliath, that he was being disrespectful against the living God, and told King Saul. Then Saul ordered David to come to him. When David arrived, he said to Saul, "Don't let anyone be discouraged. I, your servant, will go and fight this Philistine." Saul was very surprised and answered, "You can't go out against this Philistine and fight him. You're only a boy." Well, David was about 16 years old, and Goliath had been a warrior since he was a young man. But David said to Saul, "I, your servant, have been keeping my father's sheep. When a lion or bear came and took a sheep from the flock, I would chase it. I would attack it with my staff and save the sheep from its mouth. When it attacked me, I caught it by its fur and would hit it and kill it. I, his servant, have killed both a lion and a bear. Goliath the Philistine, who is a very bad man, will be like the lion or bear I killed. He will die because he has stood against the armies of the living God. The Lord saved me from a lion and bear. He will also save me from this Philistine. King Saul was impressed, so he told David, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." Then King Saul put his own battle uniform on David. He put a bronze helmet on David's head and armor on his body. He gave him his sword, and David tried to walk around in all this armor. But he was not used to the armor Saul had put on him. He said to Saul, "I can't go with all this on me. I'm not used to it." Then David took it all off. He took his shepherd's stick in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from a stream. He put them in his pouch and held his sling in his hand. Then he went to meet Goliath. As David was doing this, Goliath was coming closer to him, and the man who held his shield walked in front of him. Goliath took a good look at David and saw that he was only a handsome boy that was tanned from being out in the sun tending his father's sheep. He looked down at David with disgust and said, "Do you think I am a dog that you come at me with a sling?" He used many bad names to curse David and told him that he was going to feed his body to the birds of the air and the wild animals. But David was not scared and said to him, "You come to me using a sword, a large spear, and a small spear. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies. He is the God of the armies of Israel. You have spoken out against him, and today the Lord will give you to me. I will kill you, and I am the one who will feed the bodies of the Philistine soldiers to the birds of the air and the wild animals. Then the entire world will know there is a God in Israel. Everyone that is gathered here today will know that the Lord does not need swords or spears to save people. The battle belongs to him, and he will help us defeat all of you." As Goliath came near to attack him, David ran quickly to meet him. He took a stone from his pouch, he put it in his sling and slung it. The stone hit the Goliath on his forehead and sank into it, and Goliath fell face down on the ground. So David defeated the Philistine with only a sling and a stone. He hit him and killed him. He did not even have a sword in his hand. David ran and stood beside the Philistine. He took Goliath's sword out of its holder and made sure he was dead. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and ran. The men of Israel and Judah shouted and started chasing the Philistines. And when the Israelites returned after chasing the Philistines, they took many things from the Philistine camp. David took Goliath's weapon and placed them in his own tent. Now all the Israelites were happy because they had won the war, and Goliath was not a threat to them anymore.